to say that it was horrific could arguably be made as an understatement. The medical examiner completed an autopsy on our victim and identified confidently that there were 114 stab wounds.
Heartbreaking details released today. The death of 13-year-old Tristyn Bailey, who you see right here, called horrific by the state attorney. She was killed on Mother's Day in St. Johns County. And now, less than 3 weeks later, First Coast News is learning that 14-year-old Aiden Fucci will be charged as an adult in this case. He is facing a first-degree murder charge. And the Bailey family, who was briefed by the state attorney's office before the release of those details, just emailed us this statement. It reads in part, "We appreciate that today's outcome is directly the result of the thorough and comprehensive work from the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, along with the 7th District State Attorney's Office, as part of the initial steps to bring justice for Tristyn's murder."
And these details were just so horrible and hard to listen to. Less than an hour ago, the state attorney's office held a news conference on the updated charge. And we have live team coverage tonight, starting with On Your Side's Jessica Clark. She was in the room when those details were released. Jessica.
Good evening. You know, the amount of evidence that was discussed and presented to the media today was just incredible. The room was full of mostly folks from within the courthouse and media. So when the announcement came of 114 stab wounds, the place was silent. But when I spoke to other people who had been watching the coverage with a group, I've been told there was an audible gasp at that point, and I think that is just the part of the tremendous amount of evidence that we heard about. There's DNA evidence, there's the autopsy with that. The tip of the knife, according to the state attorney, was found in Tristyn Bailey's skull. There's more DNA evidence being tested, and then there were the words from Aiden Fucci about what he wanted to do with murdering somebody. Listen to this.
The defendant made statements to several people that he intended to kill someone. He didn't say who that was, but he indicated to witnesses that he was going to kill someone by taking them in the woods and stabbing them, which are certainly the facts of this case.
And at this point, from this press conference, the state attorney not saying if Tristyn Bailey was the target or just what, but we do know, unfortunately, she was the victim. Joining us now is Christina Opsahl. She's a private attorney now. You were a prosecutor in the 7th Judicial Circuit here in St. Johns County. What struck you about this press conference today?
Well, I think the amount of evidence disclosed that substantiated the reason for the state attorney's office going for a first-degree murder charge. You're looking for premeditation. You're looking at his words that he made, which we just heard the soundbite of. You know how many times she was stabbed with such force that the tip of the knife was in her skull. You know he took her out there alone. You know he carried a knife with him. You have his statements, all the forensic evidence, other witnesses saying what he said to her. So I believe that the amount of evidence presented by the state attorney makes it pretty clear on why they believe that adult sanctions are appropriate and a first-degree murder charge is appropriate.
And you also mentioned to me right afterwards that he was pretty direct with the community, he being the state attorney.
There is absolutely no doubt that law enforcement, the state attorney's office, the sheriff's office is not going to condone and is not going to stand for any sort of threats or intimidation to this family. And I think that was a pretty clear message made today as well.
Because we've seen so much of that on social media becoming such an element in this case, right?
Well, it's almost every case, but one of this nature that, you know, has really shaken the community to its core. So, I mean, when you have a 14-year-old that's being charged with stabbing a 13-year-old girl over 100 times, it doesn't make any sense to anyone. So I think that, you know, understandably, the community wants to know everything. They want to know what's involved, and that's not necessarily something the state's going to be able to disclose all of these facts at this time.
Okay, because they want to make sure that they have a good case, and they're aiming for a conviction.
They're aiming for a conviction, and then that conviction needs to stick. So, you know, they need to get a jury panel that can be fair and impartial. That's going to be very difficult in all cases like this where, you know, there's a big public outrage or, a lot of social media presence. There's some false information, rumors, things that haven't been substantiated that are floating around out there, and obviously that can taint a jury pool.
Of course. We're going to talk more with you throughout the evening. One of my questions is, how do you put up a defense against what we just heard? So thank you for staying with us today, and we're going to toss things back to you. We're live at the St. Johns County Courthouse in St. Augustine. Jessica Clark, First Coast News.
Jess, thank you. I mean, it's just hard as a mom to process how something like this even happens. First Coast News is getting reaction on the updates in this case. On your side's Jocelyn Howard. She's going to have that for us tonight at 5:30. And we have been following this story from the very beginning, from when Tristyn Bailey first disappeared on Mother's Day. More on what's ahead for the teen suspect. It's posted right now in the First Coast News app.